Yes, ladies and gentlemen, how lucky are we? We are here for a great one-off session of Thinking Out Loud, brought to you by Think 3D here at Thinker Networks. And we have a great guest today. We have Natalie Eisenberg of Click Rain.
Click Rain.
We are so excited to have you in the building. We have a lot to talk about. And this is one of those situations where one of the things where I really like doing this because I get an opportunity to actually talk to people, like talk to people and understand things about them and what they're going through and then how it pertains to their culture and environment because it all works together. But I think it is always best when we start with you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
About me?
Yes.
Okay, I am, I'm going to be 42 next week, I was just saying to you.
Nice.
And I love it. I love this time of life. Have a husband, 2 kids.
Yeah.
We are Sioux Falls natives. My husband and I grew up here. We've known each other forever. And kind of grew up together.
Okay.
And
like high school sweethearts type situation?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Okay.
He was older. He was just graduating when we kind of hooked up and got together and kept together mostly through college and got married. And it's a good life we have. And we love living here. And so Sioux Falls kids, now Sioux Falls adults,
Right.
which is sometimes hard to realize that we are grown-ups and doing grown-up things, but we are. Like going to work and running a company. And so I work at Click Rain, and it's digital marketing. It's a great company. We have about 40 people downtown. I mean, just super fortunate and lucky to show up there every day, most days with COVID.
But how did you get there, though? So, how did you, first of all, what type of person were you when you were in high school? What type of
person was I?
Yeah. Because I always think it's interesting when somebody is around my year of graduating and I didn't run into them because I'm one of those people I feel like I know everybody.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we didn't really run into each other makes me
I'm surprised.
Curious.
I'm surprised.
Yes. It's probably a good thing. It means you probably were a good kid if you didn't run into me. But
we would have fun, though.
Right.
Too much fun. I was social, always out and about. I did like all the sports, all the music things. Not all the music things. I did choir and piano.
Can you still play piano?
A little.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter's taking lessons now, so I'm like brushing up.
We got a keyboard over there, so we'll check you out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I was just talking about piano this morning, so it's a good thing.
Nice.
I should revisit it more, but
You should.
So I was kind of friends with like everybody, all the groups kind of person.
Yeah.
And I love that now because I see, especially living in Sioux Falls, you see somebody everywhere.
Yes.
Which is a blessing and a curse, And the mask kind of helps sometimes when you're not in the mood lately.
Not me.
So not you.
Yeah.
Well, it's it's cool. We like Sioux Falls, and I went out a lot. Same with college. I went to college at USD, and it was a social scene for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't know what I was even good at.
Yeah.
And so I just dabbled in a lot of things, spent way too many years in college. But
Did you, though?
It was great. I mean, it was great.
I was about to say, first of all, it fees like you turned out. So
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think it was a way. I think sometimes people don't spend enough time in college, getting a chance to feel things out and figure out who they are, what they want to do, or what they care about. Not even that you're going to figure all of that out by the time you leave, but just to get long enough to really acclimate before you go out into the real world.
True. Well, my parents were really supportive of all that. I was really lucky on that. So I got to explore. I got to figure things out. I got to travel some.
Yeah.
Ended up studying marketing and Spanish. Got to spend some time in Costa Rica and learn Spanish. I can get around.
Okay.
I can get around, but I'd love to be more practiced.
I'm just, shout out to our public schools. But
Seriously.
I remember almost nothing. I took like 4 years of French. I took like 4 years of Spanish. And for whatever reason, stuff just didn't stick. Now I got like Duolingo and everything, and I'm trying to. But, when you got a more elder brain, it does not come to you as quickly as it did then. I just don't know why I could never get any of that stuff to stick. And I really want to, I know why I wasn't really, a great student. But I do really want to nail down Spanish for sure.
Spanish is great. And, it's obviously growing in our community. So
Right. It has real utility.
it does. And as far as like retention of information, like I was never trying to retain information really.
Yeah, if I'm
I
being
was
honest.
kind of like, my mentality wasn't, okay, learn it and lock it up.
Yeah.
It was just like, learn it, pass the test. And
Right.
so I think there's, things to be learned on that for young people too. It's like,
For sure.
like if you want to learn it, you got to like lock it in.
You got to try to learn it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't actually try to learn. Actually, I was probably a little bit the other way. Like, I was one of those people that if I dug the subject matter, the tests were kind of easy for me. Mm-hmm. I was good at learning things in a practical way.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to class, I was at Southeast for a while. And even when I was out there, I'm one of those people that I never had any books. I don't really write anything down. I haven't written more than a page now in probably decades.
Yeah, you don't hold a pen.
Yeah, that's not really my thing. It actually keeps me from being in the thing when I'm trying to whatever. And I don't ever go as fast as my brain does, and so it just doesn't work for me. And so I would show up with no books or whatever, and I would just kind of be able to take the test. And I remember watching people come in, and they would be so anxious, and they would have to feverishly trying to study. And I just remember being like, if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. Like, it's too late, And then they would be trying so hard, and they would stress themselves out that they couldn't really perform. And if the teacher changed the paragraph that was in the materials even a little bit, they couldn't recognize it because they just memorized what was there. And for me, I was always able to make it practical.
Yeah, you're absorbing it in.
Yeah, so I wanted information to use it. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how I was going to use it necessarily, but for me, it was no good if I couldn't use it.
Well, you got to move off the French and get on the Spanish.
I'm gonna get it together. French, I had no chance with that. That was one of those
I
things.
don't need French.
There was one of those things where I when I was young, I thought I would woo girls by knowing French.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I was like, they'll love this.
It's sexy, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I was like, that was my motivation. It wasn't enough of a motivation. But Spanish, I need to get that together.
Yeah.
Now that I'm
Practical.
off the market. So.
Practical.
Yeah, I'm sure my wife would love it if actually, she wouldn't care if I did French. she just really wouldn't. All right, so you were pretty good at Spanish. You did that. Now you went to school, college, USD, couple years. You got the groove. When you transitioned out into this wild, wild, real world, what did that look like?
Well, I finally figured it out with marketing that like I was pretty good at that, and I had a creative side of business that I really flowed well in. And so during school, I got connected with Mr. Schiller of Lawrence and Schiller, and he was an advisor down there. Got to know him, and he allowed me to come visit the agency. And so my first job out of school was Lawrence and Schiller, and I remember the night after my first day of work, I went back to my parents' house where I was staying at the time, and I said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. 8 to 5 or 8 to 7 or whatever it was at the time, and just felt constrained.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to go to hair school, and I wanted to start my own business, and like I've got all these ideas, but now I just got to go to work. I just cut my sister's hair last night. Actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a sidebar.
Sorry.
But no, keep doing the story.
I'm good.
Yeah.
COVID cuts.
Ooh, I love it.
COVID cuts by Nat. So I went back to work the second day.
Okay. Good.
And I ended up staying there for 12 years and had just a ton of great experiences. I was a account person, so I got to work with the creative team, and I got to work with the client, and I got to be in the center of it all and solve problems and figure things out and grow and eventually become a manager and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And 12 years later, a former client of mine, Paul Tenhaken, texted me on like a random Monday morning and said that he had a position that he wanted me to take a look at. And I'm like, I'll take a look. It wasn't this job, though. It wasn't CEO. It was a sales and marketing position. And so we had some conversations, and I never actually went to ClickRain before my very first day at ClickRain. He and I met at Denny's like a couple times, and then the deal was done, and I was coming over, and I showed up at ClickRain the first morning. I'm like, oh, nice place.
Denny's.
Yeah.
He tried to bring you in, and he took you to Denny's?
I know. Chic, right?
Respect to Denny's. Actually, I do have a beef with Denny's. Their bacon is the wackest. However, it's like that.
They do it right?
No, it's just it tastes like that kind of microwave bacon that's not actually like in a freezer thing, which is
Oh, I know what you're talking
confusing.
about. Yeah.
It's that type of bacon. That said, though, pancake puppies, amazing. If you haven't had
What is
them,
it?
get them. It's basically like a pancake ball thing. I don't know. It really tastes more like funnel cake or whatever. They give you a dip to put it in. It's not great
Okay.
for your blood sugar or carbs, which you seem like you manage a little bit. But check it out. I'm just going to say that.
There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, but Paul, step it up. Denny's, come on, man.
Well, we were kind of hiding out,
I guess.
So there was
That's
that.
true. Yeah. He was poaching you.
Yeah.
It's too late for him to get in trouble for it now. So,
It's all good.
He was
It's
poaching you.
worked out.
All right, so he was able to get you. Now, first of all, like in terms of like the technical aspects of some of the things that you did, what is the like grimy, gritty part of how you had to develop and grow? Because a lot of times we just see leaders as leaders, and we just act like they just got put there, but that's not how it ever works, really. Well, in some cases it is. But.
So I worked on accounts, and I had the chance to kind of step into a position that I wasn't really ready for early on, because somebody had left the agency and I was on that account, and it just made sense for me to kind of run it. And so I was out of my league and had to figure some things out, and had to take hard phone calls, and had to deliver, bad feedback from the client to the team and work through stuff like that.
But that's hard to do, because I don't want to gloss over that.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, because especially when you question your level of preparation for the job. A lot of people, particularly women in my experience, suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yep.
And so, like, what am I doing here? Why am I qualified to tell these people what to do and tell this person that this is not good enough, yada, yada, yada. Talk me through that piece. Take me through the mental piece of going through that transition and being that person, that young person at that time, trying to figure that out for yourself.
Well, I always felt like I had the skills to figure out what I needed to figure out. And so that's what I kept doing. I just kept taking the challenge and using my ideas to figure it out. And I also would go to people and say, like, here's what I'm thinking we should do. Does that sound all right? Just to get a second opinion on things. And I had a really good couple of team members that I could do that with, and I did that, for years. And then eventually they're just like, "You're good,
Right.
You're good." But I think the main thing I struggled with was comparison and seeing people, peers even, have different opportunities than I did.
Yeah.
Male, female, usually.
Yeah.
And so that was hard, and that wore on me. But again, kept at it, and I didn't vocalize a lot of that at the time. I kind of let it eat at me, actually, for a lot of years, and got really wound up in that stress ball. And I was a younger married person, no kids. For 5 years, we were married with no kids, and I mean, we did not enjoy that period of our life enough, because I was way too wound up about work. Yeah. But I was working hard, trying to prove myself, and I guess maybe it paid off.
There, because that's something that is super important to the story, because you guys had 5 years really where you were married and you knew you were going to be with each other. You knew you were committed to each other. You had no other people to be responsible for other than each other. And how what was happening in your work environment was affecting your ability to take advantage of that time, which you could never, ever get back.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And well, I know you know. But, it's one of those things where I want people to really think about that for a second. You know what I mean? Where when we're tied up and we're not using our words, or we're not, advocating for ourselves, or we're not using our agency to be able to really claw back that time and fight for that time, because it's so very valuable.
So precious.
It's so precious. Now, that's not to say that you haven't made the best of all of the situations since, and obviously, you love your kids, but just to give me a little bit more on that particular time. How did you work yourself through it, and just give me a feeling of how you actually felt. Like, what was it like when you walk into the door, hey, honey, how was your day, and go?
You're seeing it. I would turn in and I wouldn't say a lot usually about it, but I would be way more. I would just be quieter and unengaged, and go back to work.
And just do it again.
And that night, I would maybe have dinner or hang out for a little bit, but then I had laptops back open.
Yeah.
And even if we're like watching a show together, I'm working. And socially, I remember my friends being like, "You always talk about work."
Yeah.
And part of it is because I loved it.
For sure.
Part of it is because I love the work, and I really love the industry, and I thrive on solving these kind of challenges for clients through marketing solutions. But I mean, the other part of it was that was my life. I didn't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
So,
but that's always the thing, even with normal relationship, any relationship that you have, like, love is the way in. Things are most available to hurt you when you love them because you let them in.
That's true.
And so that's part and parcel with it, right? We only go through that thing because we love it and we want to do that thing, and we open ourselves up for a lot of things. But that's important. So during that time, was the hubby super into his thing, or was it similar things? Because a lot of times those things start to become the same thing, and we're both in that space. You know what I mean? And you just come home and we grunt and we go,
Yeah, a little. That phase of his career wasn't as intense, and so he was a lot more. He was happy. Like he was happy when he came home from work to meet Natalie.
So what was that like then?
Yeah.
Was it annoying having somebody be so happy, feeling like, why is he so happy? And was it difficult for him being so happy and knowing that you weren't necessarily so happy?
I think so. Oh, it was definitely a rub.
Yeah.
It was definitely a rub.
Yeah.
And to him it was like, just leave work at work and let's enjoy our time together, know. But like it was so fixed into me that I could not get it off my mind.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get it off my mind.
Yeah.
It was really heavy.
Yeah. And that's obviously what makes you great at what you do, but it's heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we worked our way through that. What are some of the key things you attribute to getting through that phase? Or have you?
Oh yeah. I'm beyond it.
Okay.
And for me, it was having my first child, and having something else to focus on, and having a different priority, a higher priority than, sad to say, like it was a higher priority to me. Family was suddenly a higher priority to me once we had a child.
Yeah.
And I was able to go home and, honestly, because it's as much of a job as being at work, so you got to shift focus,
Yeah.
So I did, and it helped me lighten up at work a lot.
Nice.
And also, the other thing was, when I was a younger professional, a less experienced professional, I thought I had to prove myself through my work only, and I had to let people see my successes, and then they would respect me, see me, advance me, whatever. And so I didn't share a lot about my personal life. Well, there wasn't much going on at that time. It was work. But it wasn't that bad. But
no, it's not. But it was, and I think sometimes obviously we don't want to give the impression that the people around us were doing malicious things to us, because that's almost never the case. It is, and that's why we say a culture will emerge whether intended or not. But if it's not one you invest in, it'd be one that you pay for. Like, stuff just happens, and that's the hardest part, because there is no one to blame. There is no one that's doing it to you. It is the space, it's the environment, and it's harder to change, and it's harder to reason. Because you can't just point at it.
Not at all. So when I had my son, I started not only focusing more on family and being present with family, I had more to talk about at work, and I had more to contribute to work things, actually. I got a mother's perspective now.
Yeah.
And I could actually resonate with clients who were also moms or parents or that kind of stuff. And so I realized that what happens in my personal life actually affects my work life really well, and makes me a better professional, because I have more perspective. especially in this industry. You
For
know,
sure.
you're trying to understand consumers all the time.
For sure.
And I became a much broader consumer when I became a mom.
Right. That's awesome. Okay. So that was a big pivotal moment. So now we're at Denny's. We're having that conversation. You show up the first day. You're like, cool office. Then what? What was the energy? How were you received? How did you feel in that transition? You had been in the place for 12 years. You have relationships in there, all of those other type of things. Now you're moving into this new space. You're the new kid on the block again. What was that like?
Super good people, super welcoming people. And
Who's the first person you met besides Paul?
Dawn.
Okay.
Yep, who's a really good friend of mine now. She no longer works with us in the company, but she's a client, and she's fabulous.
Awesome.
But yeah, she was super cool and really welcoming, and we had a lot in common right from the get-go. So we honestly, like, I still really try and when I talk to new people who join the company, I'm always really sensitive to getting a new job now, because I didn't really get a lot of new jobs in my career. I just had that one for a long, long time, and then I came into a new company. So, but coming into a new company as an experienced professional, you know, I came in as an executive person or whatever, and but I didn't know anything about the inner workings of the company, so I felt dumb.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like I couldn't prove to these people that I actually know what I'm talking about. But I just don't know how to do it your way yet.
What does feeling dumb feel like to you? Because I feel like that is one of the things that hits you the hardest. I get that vibe.
Oh, yeah. It feels like I'm not as good as I should be. Feels like others have a leg up over me, and sometimes it feels a little helpless because it's a hurdle you're not sure how to jump over.
You don't get to do it by yourself. Yeah. It's based on other people.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of it's based on, or at least what we perceive is other people. That's tough because, you know, other people sometimes, especially when we are mature enough to have the perspective of knowing what is going on with those people objectively, to think that those people are available to you to even,
True.
you know, really even work. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those people are dealing with whatever their stuff is.
Totally.
They're not even thinking that. But like, but for you, it just feels like these people, like everyone, like they meet together and like, what do you think about Natalie?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if only.
Yeah,
No.
it's a heavy thing.
It's the stories we
Tell ourselves. Absolutely. How do you feel like you're at with that now? Like, what is your thing now? Like, I mean, like, are you strategic with it? Is it something that you just don't listen to anymore? Or is it because I find that people manage that in different ways. I'm curious to see how you do that.
You know, I had to navigate it quite heavily when Paul was exiting the company. Paul was moving into his new position. Paul was in the spotlight, still is. And so the comparison game is comes into play quite heavily, or used to for me. Really, that first year that I was trying to get my ground in the company and establish myself as the leader and move things forward, great things in the company.
Right.
At the end of the day, it still came down to, am I as good as him? Do they like me as much as him?
Yeah, let's go down that road. Because, you know, hey, Paul, good looking, successful, middle-aged, white male, about to be the, you know,
funny,
pow,
cool.
pow, pow,
Yeah.
pow, pow, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Click, check.
I know.
Check. And then
Yeah.
here's Natalie.
I know, exactly.
So, like, yeah, walk me down that road, because I feel like there's some trapdoors in that, and there's a lot of space in there, whether perceived or otherwise. Take me through that period.
Well, there's a lot there.
I know. I see that. I mean, you know, the cameras got battery life, so.
Yeah. Paul's a great friend of mine, and I love that man. You know, he and I have spent a lot of time together and had a chance to work together on a lot of things. But the first couple of years that I was in the company, you know, he was on his runway out.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't super involved and engaged in the company. And that was evident within the office. And so when I did sign on, I was like, we got things to do. And I knew it, and everybody else knew it, and I think they were ready for it, and we started to get the work done right away. And so I had those achievements. I had those daily achievements. I had those strides that were happening within the company. But at the same time, there was a mayoral campaign going on, and I would show up in the grocery store, and it was like, oh, hey, your boss is doing a great job running for mayor, and people would want to talk to me about him all the time. And that really wore on me because I was so excited about my role. I was getting things done, but I still wasn't getting noticed for it.
Yeah, I would not see. And that's the thing. I would not have really considered that because as a person who was watching it objectively, that was noteworthy for me. Obviously, because of the election, and then just knowing so many folks in the marketing space and all of those other type of things, and being familiar with the firm and knowing people within ClickRain. I would have never even really thought about the idea of people being in the supermarket being like, your boss is killing it. No, actually.
I know. Yeah, I'm the boss now.
I'm the boss now.
Yeah.
And as a person who is, at least in certain circles, a relatively public person, I have a little bit of insight on what it's like to have those hamster wheel engagements. Like, they seem like they never end. They're very repetitive. They all might be genuine. They all might be legitimate. But what is the first conversation or question for this person is the 500th conversation or question for you. And everybody wants you to give it the same way.
Yeah.
The same panache, the same energy, the same pep.
Yeah,
for
sure.
But a lot of people don't think about what's happening to you in that process. Talk about that a little bit.
So he got his new job in May, and that was a really good turning point.
Okay.
Paul's mayor now. Paul's mayor now.
He's the mayor.
Mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye.
Move along.
Yep. And that was a great chance to turn the page, and the noise level went down a little bit about the campaign and all the lights around it, and so we continued our work in the company, and then it became a little more of an internal transition of team to who wanted to be a part of Paul's ClickRain, but didn't necessarily want to be a part of the ClickRain of the future.
Right.
So worked through that, and those are hard things.
It is.
Those are hard things, but we certainly worked through it, and we're three years now into this era of the company, and just we've stacked the team.
Yeah.
We've organized a lot of stuff, clarified a lot of stuff. I've been way more present in terms of being the face of ClickRain, and I feel like I've taken ownership of that, and it's in much better place. I'm in much better place than I was year one.
So let's fast forward. Let's take it to Jan 1, 2020. Dun dun dun.
Which one? 2020?
Yeah, January 1, 2020.
2020.
The year 2020. And that's how people are going to have to say that like for forever.
I know.
Like, do you remember 2020? I remember making a post, and I was really hyped. And honestly, it's become true on both ways. But for me, I'm semantics of things are important to me. And I said, year 2020, this is going to be the year of clarity. We're going to see some things.
Yeah.
Vision. It's gonna. We're gonna see. It was like.
Oh yeah.
There's something.
It's got a ring to it.
You know what I mean? Like, there's something gonna happen, y'all. Something's gonna happen. And I'm telling you, January's going according to plan. And then, yeah.
January was fine.
So
January was fine.
What was that transition? So when you started the year, what were you feeling like when you started the year?
Oh man, we had a stacked year. One of the amazing things that we've gotten into place is just a better handle on projections and where we're headed in a year and goals, and so we had a great handle on what this year was going to look like, and this year was going to be prime. And January was great, February was great, and then March happened, March was actually all right, but mid-March.
Yeah. Well, because it trailed. Like, we were hearing this thing that was happening in China.
Yeah.
Right? Like, far away. It's not our deal. Bad stuff happens other places all the time. And then February was like, hey, y'all, this is starting to seem like it's a thing.
I know.
We'll be all right.
Yeah.
We're out here in the middle of nowhere. We're in the Midwest. We're chill. March. It's really real. Scary.
Yeah. I remember sitting down as a exec team one of those weeks and just kind of going like, we're going to have to make some plans here. Like, things are moving, things are happening. And that was like on a Thursday. And then on Friday, schools got announced to be closed the next week. And we're like, okay, I guess we're all going remote. It was just happened really, really fast.
Yeah.
And so we did. We went remote.
So going into that, so slightly before going into that, the environment, click rang. It sounds like you felt pretty good about where things were at. The team was being formed. They were coming around you. You had the ownership as the leader. Everybody's kind of filing in. You're getting the rhythm. Business is looking good. Things are getting figured out. Are you guys a traction group? So, you feeling organized together. Bang. And then you go into this. Now, I think sometimes what people also don't appreciate is, the mental health aspect of going through these things, the connection aspects of going through these things, the physical reality of these things, and especially for creatives, especially for people who are empaths, especially for people who need to emote, especially for people who have to bounce ideas off of each other, right? Not all things are created equal. This affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but what it does to the mind of the person who needs certain environments or certain things to work is a little bit different. So as you go into that first part of it, what did that do to the culture? What did that do to your environment? What did that do to all that work you just put in to get this thing the way it was supposed to be?
Well, I can honestly say that I don't think it was abrupt and it was painful, but it didn't break anything. Okay. And we had a remote thing going on before COVID, and so we knew how to work remote. We had technology and all the things. But we all decided we just needed to kind of like sink in and come closer in communication and have a little more active line on how people are doing. Yeah. And so we increased the time that we would spend together, of course, on Zoom. But and just, it's not one size fits all whatsoever either. So everybody's got unique experience with family, with stress, with anxiety. And so we're really just trying to engage everybody uniquely and say, like, what do you need? And how's it going and what do you need? And trying our best to provide it. Yeah. So the work continued. We definitely had a ding to our revenue during that time, but I'm actually kind of thankful for that because to be super busy during that kind of a high anxiety time would have been especially hard. Yeah. To deliver really well and to have that kind of workload. So
everybody got a kind of little breather in that first part.
A little bit, yeah.
But then we get into the part where that's getting worked out. Recovery stuff is happening. Some things are coming back. Do you come back to the building or don't you? How long are you gone? What's that about? Take me through that phase.
Well, there's a ton of figuring out, of course, from a leadership standpoint on like where we need to be, who needs to be where, how do we keep staff safe, how do we give them some independence on that? There's just so many routes to go, but we've made decisions and we've communicated those decisions really well, and people have been pretty accepting of that. So I think we've got like the COVID related stuff fairly well ironed out. Now it's like, well, the business is coming and we're getting a lot of calls and this existing client wants to come back to full bore, and this other existing client is doing some brand new things and they need our help, and suddenly we're really, really busy. Yeah. This fall we're like wow, just a full swing from second quarter.
And now you're getting smoked. So through that phase, you made some decisions, some popular, some not. Give me one that you might take back, and give me one that you would double down on.
I don't know. I know for sure. Like we added a staff meeting every week. We always meet on Mondays, and we started meeting on Thursdays too. So twice a week we're all together. I would do that again in a heartbeat. We're not doing that now, but if we're all remote again, we will. We'll definitely add that in. Just gave a chance for everybody to see each other. And
For sure.
Something that I would do differently.
And it doesn't even have to be something that you did wrong per se, or something that you maybe didn't do, or you feel like you didn't do, passionately enough, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I wonder about is when we all came back into the office in June, like we tried to have some guidelines for people within the office, but then we didn't really like monitor people. Really, I mean, we're not going to go and like say, oh, you're only supposed to have 2 people in this conference room and you have 3, like, let's move it out. We're not policing it. And so it almost felt like we're saying we're here for your protection and your safety, but maybe we're actually not.
Yeah.
Like, we're letting you do whatever you want anyway.
Yeah.
So it was a little hard to know, like, how far we take the enforcement of the rules.
Yeah.
It still is.
For sure. What is your current setup now?
Current setup is flip-flopping weeks.
Okay.
Half the team's in one week, half the team's in the next week. And so far, we're just like a few weeks into that, but it's all right.
How's that being received?
I think it's all right. I think people prefer to have, if they're going to be remote, like they prefer that it's blended in a week where they're also in the office instead of a full week at home. A full week in the office. That's what I prefer to, actually.
Right.
Like, it's nice to have the variety within a week instead of flip-flopping. But we're also hiring some people right now. It's trying to figure out how do you bring in new people and make them a part of a team if they're flip-flopping weeks or if they are only with one group. If they're an orange group, they're only going to really get to know that crew in person for right now. So we're kind of trying to navigate onboarding with every other week.
Okay.
So it's good, though.
So let me ask you this. So leader. When you, there are certain things that you have to do, decisions you have to make, whatever, that you just don't necessarily know how they're received or how you're received or what the vibe is or what the energy is. Because in your mind, you always have a vision of what is optimal, what is best, what you would like to be or like to have happen. It almost never is that.
Right.
Which also is part of what it takes to be a good leader. So leader to leader, what is that thing that you want to have? What is that thing that would really get you closer to where you want to get, that you feel like you just quite haven't been able to capture yet? And again, this is one of those things where a lot of times people may not understand the perspective if you don't have people you're responsible for. But leader to leader, what's that thing that dragon that you want to slay, that thing that you feel like you really need to happen?
Well, we have designed a workplace where it's meant to keep people thriving in and out of work. Like, that's what we've designed. And it's not easily maintained. It's really a tricky, you talk about balance. Balance it's really tricky to keep that perfect balance of.
It's a needle point.
Yeah, it's very fragile. And to make sure that people are challenged enough, busy enough, that we're busy enough to maintain a healthy organization, but not too busy where they can't breathe and they're treading water and they're not happy when they go home. It's just a delicate space to be. So I just keep on working toward that and keep on making little shifts in all the gears within the organization to try and aim for that.
Does everybody know what it takes to win? Do they know what it takes to run this thing called Click Rain?
I don't know. I think they know what it takes to win.
Okay.
I think they know what it takes to win. I don't know if they know what it takes to run this thing called Click Rain.
Okay.
This thing called Click Rain is, it is a special place. It is designed to put people first and to send people home in a thriving way instead of a beat down way.
Yeah.
And that's just there's a lot of things to manage to be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of behind the curtain conversations that are tricky, that are hard. But I will say, when I think about an individual who might be treading water,
Mm-hmm.
like there is absolute commitment to going out and rescuing that. You
Yeah.
know, like that is a shared commitment by our whole team.
Yeah. So we have this, thing that we talk about, which is, thinking past your chair and getting people to be able to think past their position and how things affect them, how their work flows into someone else's work and how someone else's work flows into their work. And then understanding how the whole thing comes together. Because for a lot of people, they just tend to get into a space where as long as my check clears, everything's good. Mm-hmm. Right? And sometimes people don't think about the business.
Yeah.
As long as my check clears.
Yeah.
And as a person who runs a business, you sometimes you have to have 15 things in the air because 10 things aren't going to work out. Mm-hmm. And so, your team can handle 5 and then 7 things comes through. Mm-hmm. And unless you're going to start sending work back, you're overworked for this little bit of time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you put 15 things in the air, only 13 things come through. We only got 2 right now. Mm-hmm. That is hard to do. Do you think you do a good enough job of helping people think past their chair and understanding the full breadth of what's going into this?
It's a hard thing to teach.
Yeah.
This view of the full picture, especially when every one of our team members have a mind full of a lot of other things specific to their role. It's hard to come up and look at the bigger picture, especially when that's not your job necessarily. But I guess
And sometimes it's just inconvenient.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, look, I got this, you do that. Because
Right.
that's hard too. Because you don't want to have to hash out every single thing,
Yeah, I try really hard to, because I am in my job, and that is my job to see the full. I really try and share examples of why that matters. Why what happens here is going to affect what is going on over there. And when we change this gear over here, everything else gets a little bit waffled. So I talk about that a lot, and it is super important. There are implications to almost everything that we may not think about. But I do have a skill for that, for seeing the full picture and for helping organize changes across that affect others. I don't know how much the team needs to take that on. Mm-hmm. That's a burden that we can carry at the leadership table, I feel like, for the most part. But also, what's good for one area is many times good for another, and good for the whole. So,
for sure. What do you think? What do you think the level of empathy is for the leadership in ClickRay?
Oh, it's pretty great.
Awesome.
It's pretty great. Our team, I feel seen most of the time.
It's big.
When the team gets busier, it's less so.
Yeah.
And that's only natural, I think. But I think they do see the work that we're doing. They may not always recognize the work that we're doing, but I do feel they know the work that happens behind the scene, and that we're working hard for them, and that we're not going to let a problem go unsolved for very long.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. As we get ready to land the plane, let me ask you this: what is one thing you want for them, and what is one thing you want for you in the business, in your position as the leader? What is one thing that you want for your people to have that maybe they don't fully have right now? It could be a physical thing. It could be a mental thing. It could be an energy environment thing. And then what's one thing that you want for you as the leader?
Something I've grown into in my career is just being able to live in peace and with wellness. And I absolutely want that for every one of our team members. I just don't want them to carry the weight of work in a negative way. I don't want them to carry the weight of work around with their families, with their friends, and in the community. It's not necessary.
Yeah,
it's not necessary. I want them to feel the energy that comes from the work that we do in their personal lives, But I don't want it to be a burden on them. And I honestly think if it is a burden on them, we can solve it.
Yeah.
We can solve it. You got to bring it forward. We got to, get into it. And it could be, maybe they just don't like this line of work anymore.
Yeah.
It could be that we need to change the way we do things a little bit. But we can solve almost anything. And I don't want them to see when there is a problem or an issue or a weighty thing, I don't want them to see that as something they got to live with. But or necessarily even a bad thing. Actually, sometimes a problem is something that needs to be solved and creates an opportunity.
For sure.
So,
what is something that you want for you? What is something Natalie doesn't have yet that she would like as a leader?
I don't know.
Well, that's not
Just
an
give me a
acceptable answer here.
Just give me a minute.
Okay, we'll take your time, but you just can't leave on I don't know.
I know.
Accept that.
I know. I like to win.
Okay.
And I like to celebrate winning.
Mm-hmm.
And we are winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to keep winning. I want to keep winning in our company. And my personal wins are when my team is thriving, when my team is satisfied.
Yeah.
When the people are advocates for what we do here. And when they love coming to work.
What's the win? You like winning and you like celebrating winning. So just two things real quick. Number one, what is a win to you? And two, when was the last time you celebrated?
A win to me is when the team is thriving. And right now it's hard because we're not at thrive level. And and that wears on me. And that to me is not winning. Even though we have a ton of business, the team is struggling with the level of work that we have, and it's not enough for me to just say we grit through it. Yeah, and we made money. Yeah, we say people over profit, people over process. Yeah. Well, how are we going to solve that?
When was the last time you celebrated?
Celebrated work?
Celebrated a win?
It's been a little while.
Yeah, I think you're due.
It's been a little while.
So let's make that a priority. We've had an opportunity to work with you guys for some months now. And one of the things that I will say is a big misconception about what we do is that the people that we work with have broken cultures. And that's rarely the case because people who really have poor culture don't call us. Yeah. Right? They don't want to know.
Right.
They don't want to invest in it. They don't want to spend the time with it. So almost all of our clients actually have the better cultures in the community already. And they engage us because they want to make it better. And I think that's indicative of the type of people that we work with and, quite honestly, the type of people we choose to work with. And one thing I love about your group is I think there really is a commitment to trying to make the environment better all the time. That's rare and it is extremely important to do, and you lead that in a very graceful way. And I think you do an amazing job.
Thank you. Better is the goal.
Yeah.
Always the goal.
Yeah. Team is lucky to have you. We're lucky to have Click Rain and everybody within it. So we appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming by for this conversation of thinking out loud. It was fun. I appreciate you for doing it. I hope we can have you back again if we didn't do too bad of a job. But thank you very much. We will see you guys next time. Until then, this is Thinking Out Loud. I'm Vonnie Herrera of Think3D. Keep up with us at letsthink3d.com or our socials at Think3D Solutions. We will see you soon.